He did. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
You're listening to the One Pridecast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the One Pridecast presented by MGM Grand Detroit. I'm Tori Petry, joined on the other line by Mike O'Hara. Mike, how's breakfast this morning?
Lonely. Nothing like black coffee and dry toast.
You know, I try to bring out my best for you.
Well, you missed me. I must have delivered it to my neighbor, right? You put it on the wrong porch.
Oh, that's what happened. It was a beautiful Chick-fil-A breakfast spread.
Well, thanks for adhering to the what do we have? The
social
shutdown
distancing,
now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try my best for you, Mike. Next week I'll get the right house.
Thanksgiving Day, I can't wait.
Well, the Lions do have a game before Thanksgiving Day, so let's look back at this game from the week before. It was a win over the Washington football team, but it came, of course, in crazy fashion. How about the end to that game, Mike?
Well, it's interesting. First of all, I think that Riverboat Ron Rivera made a tactical error. I thought he got too conservative there. I don't think he gambled, and if I were him, they score the field goal with 16 seconds to go. They're kicking off, and kicks it into the end zone. Takes no time off the clock. And because I have a busy life and nothing else to do, I timed up. The second kickoff of the game to them was returned. Was it 19 yards? Took 6 seconds to return it. So similar thing. If they would have kicked off to the Lions, I'm sure you're going to cover the kickoff. Make sure you do. You're going to take time off the clock. Give the ball up to the Lions with 10 seconds, not 16. Then you're really. They were not in the miracle stage. They had to do everything right and maybe get a break. That would have put it in the miracle stage, and we probably would have been into overtime. So I chalk that up as a coaching error, in my opinion, just like Mike Zimmer in Minnesota did. Was it 3 years ago or 4 years ago when Matt Prater kicked a 58-yard field goal at the buzzer, or at the horn or the gun, whatever you want to call it, to send it into overtime, and then, of course, Matthew Stafford took over again and just kept it going. So, and they won that on a touchdown pass to Golden Tate. So, to me, that's what I would do. I would kick it short of the end line and make them return it to take, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds off.
Yeah, there's been so many of those game-winning or game-tying Matt Prater kicks that it's hard to keep them all straight.
And I see we've got a great feature on DetroitLions.com called Mic'd Up, and I don't know if you went through it at all. But Matthew Stafford, and if you don't mind, I'm going to go back to, you've seen that great comeback against the Dallas Cowboys 7-8 years ago when he was a young quarterback. And they get the ball with, 50 seconds to go or something like that, and need a touchdown and an extra point to win. And you see the offensive coordinator and Matthew Stafford standing right up in front of the bench, and the coordinator says, look, you've got plenty of time. They're absolutely as relaxed as can be. And on Mic'd Up this week, first thing Matthew Stafford said when he got in the huddle, he goes, okay, guys, huddle up. We got 3 timeouts. And between plays, he walked them through everything, including the last one. He said to everybody, but he was looking at Marvin Jones Jr., catch it, get down, call time. We got timeout. Snap, throw, catch, down, timeout, field goal, game over, everybody happy.
Absolutely. And Matthew Stafford has led plenty of those drives in his career, and we saw yet another one of them on Sunday. But, of course, I know a lot of Lions fans would have liked for it not to have come down to those final seconds, I should say, considering what the Lions were able to do early on in that game, getting off to a 24-3 lead. How concerning was what the Washington football team was able to do there in the third and fourth quarter?
Just as concerning as what Chicago did in the opening game, and go on and on and on. 14-3 lead with over Green Bay the next week. Poof. A couple weeks later, it's 14-0 versus the New Orleans Saints. Poof. That's spelled P-O-O-F. In case you're out there, listen carefully, folks.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's concerning. It's what's concerning to me is all of it. Number one, that they did at Washington, which really is just they're okay. All right, they're nothing special. They're just okay. But they couldn't stop them all day, and they haven't stopped teams, consistently all year. Look, we can go back to the game against Atlanta. What'd they do? They really drove to what should have been the clinching field goal, except Todd Gurley ran in the end zone for a touchdown, and and gave the Lions a chance to come back. They didn't stop them either, and that's a game they won. So. it's concerning the fact to me that they haven't gotten any better at it. To me, they don't have the knockout punch. I'll give you a statistic here. Romeo Okwara, as I was doing some stats this morning to get ready for this, he leads the team with 6 sacks, which is good. That's for him. That's really a start to a good year, and he'll probably keep it up. And he's got 12 quarterback hits. Everson Griffin, who's been here for 2 games, is second on the team with 5 quarterback hits. Where's everybody else?
Yeah.
So there we are.
Well, still shows that the Everson Griffin move was a pretty good move considering
doggone right,
those
yeah.
hits in 2 games.
Yeah, I like his energy too. I mean, you may not want one of your defensive linemen before the game standing and screaming at the Minnesota Vikings bench, but that's okay. Whatever gets him ready to play.
Yeah.
I know, as long as it's legal, but as long as it's legal and he's not, getting late hits and all that, he plays good, clean, tough football. I like it. I love it. I really do.
Yeah, he was our guest on Lions Game Plan this week and on Fox Sports Detroit, and I got to talk to him a little bit. It's the first kind of one-on-one conversation I've had with him since he's been here, considering everything's virtual and everything. I really enjoyed the conversation. He was great. Yeah,
he was on one of the Zoom interviews this week too, and even kind of laughed at himself at his energy and all that, and I mean, he wasn't mocking himself, but he understands. He's got a little bit of a profile, and he brings some energy, and you know what? I like that. I really do. Reggie Ragland has it,
Yeah,
maybe those guys all have it internally and don't display it externally. But I don't think there's anything wrong with displaying it. Whether it rubs off, I don't know. That's up to the individual player if they want to follow along, and I think they should. That's up to them. But this, so far, 2 games in, it's a really, really good signing. I'm sorry I can't call it great, Everson, but I am calling it good.
All right. Well, it could turn to great while the Lions, play down the stretch here. We'll see what happens. But I thought it was interesting what Matt Patricia said after the game about that lull that they had in, the third, fourth quarter where Washington was able to kind of mount a comeback. And I asked him about this on Lions Game Plan as well this week. He talked about how he had noticed the time of possession being imbalanced in the first half, not because they didn't have control of the ball, say for like the Indianapolis game where, Indianapolis was able to run the ball and the Lions weren't able to stop it there in the first half, and that's why the time of possession was off. But in this case, the Lions were just scoring very quickly. Whenever they had the ball, they were scoring quickly or they were going 3 and out, and so the defense was on the field a lot. So he noticed that at the half and, kind of was trying to manage the game from that standpoint with some of the defensive players having played so much before the half. I just thought that was an interesting perspective from the coach on why he felt like, things were a little bit tough there, but they were able to pull out the win in the end.
Yeah, this is off the top of my head, but I know the Lions had 55 offensive plays to 88, I think it was, or 89 for Washington. That's really wearying on defensive linemen in particular, and it's a good thing that they have a rotation. But the other answer to that is to make a play and get off the field. Now they had a couple of things to me. Got a couple of tough calls I thought on penalties, but to me the toughest one of all was self-inflicted. On a 4th and 13, they gave up a 15-yard completion down to the 2-yard line to Logan Thomas, who was here in Detroit with the Lions last year. Pretty good guy, but certainly not a featured tight end. But he ran his route perfectly, as Chris Spielman pointed out in one of our 3 and out videos that's still up if you want to see it on DetroitLions.com. Ran it perfectly down to the goal line, then came back and he was wide open, caught the ball, went down, first down. Next play, touchdown. So, they had their chances.
Yeah, to another former Lion and J.D. McKissick.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, those two, they were pretty good players here, but the Lions are moving on, and I don't disagree with what they did there. Look, there are former Buffalo Bills, former this, former that, all across the National Football League. Guys are getting, 1-year prove-it contracts and moving on. So, for Logan and J.D. McKissick, that's probably the case with both of them. But they're pretty good players. They're good complementary ball players.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the final drive and the Matt Prater kick, those were clear positives from this game. What other takeaways do you have that, Lions fans should be happy about from the game against Washington?
Obviously, DeAndre Swift playing, and it's kind of interesting to me because, as you know, I was a big DeAndre Swift fan in the draft. After the first round, I said to Tim Twentyman, my writing partner at DetroitLions.com, Lions had the third pick in the second round. I just said, Tim, if I'm Bob Quinn, I'm trading up for the first pick to make sure getting DeAndre Swift. Well, they didn't trade up, and they got him anyway. And we've kind of made a semi-comparison to him and Christian McCaffrey in terms of style of play. Now, look, Christian McCaffrey, in his 3-4 years in the league already, has established himself as really one of the top backs in the league because of his ability to run, catch passes, and get to the end zone. Look, he's only played 3 games this year because of ankle and shoulder injuries. He's got 6 touchdowns. He had 19 last year. But dare I give you a couple of statistics, okay? May I?
You give statistics? I don't think I've ever heard you do this on the podcast before.
Well, you'll love it then.
That's sarcasm, guys.
Don't get carried away. But look, and first of all, I'm not saying DeAndre Swift is Christian McCaffrey, but as a rookie, Christian McCaffrey wasn't the player we've come to know from last year either. But Christian McCaffrey last year had 2,392 yards from scrimmage, okay? Third most in the history of the National Football League. He averaged 149.5 yards per game, played 16 games. DeAndre Swift had 81 yards rushing, 68 yards receiving last week against Washington. We add that up, what is it? 149 yards. 1/2 yard less than the Christian McCaffrey average per game. There's more. I promise you.
Continue.
This continues. When I said Christian McCaffrey wasn't Christian McCaffrey as a rookie, he wasn't. Like a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
But he did have 1,086 yards for the season, for his rookie season, an average of 67.85 yards per game. DeAndre Swift, after 9 games, has 606 yards. Divide that by 9, it is what? 67.3 yards per game.
I'm glad you're doing the math on this already.
Well, I'm glad you're listening because if you think about that, he's on pace this year to do what Christian McCaffrey did as a rookie, and you just extrapolate out his one game, and this is ridiculous, of course, but for one game he averaged produced, I should say, what Christian McCaffrey did for a full season in one of the great seasons of all time from a two-way back. So make of it what you want.
Okay.
I think they really have a great, I wouldn't call him a raw talent, he's too polished for that, but a kid breaking into the league, making his way, and I think right now we've talked about the running back by committee. Well, I think he's the chairman of the committee right now, and probably Adrian Peterson has the second role as a short yardage back and all of that, and then Kerryon Johnson getting what's left over.
I would say that's accurate. I think that's a good way to put it. DeAndre Swift was certainly exciting to watch in this last game, and he has only grown as the season has gone on. Mike, something that has really impressed me about him is how he has bounced back from that first game of the season. Dropping that touchdown at the end of the Bears game is the kind of thing that can really throw a rookie off mentally. That's discouraging. You feel like the loss is on your back, even though obviously there were a lot of other things that went wrong in that game for it to come down to being on that final throw. But, I mean, the way that he has bounced back and not let it affect him one bit, and even having to watch Adrian Peterson get a lot of those carries early on, and he wasn't getting the ball as much. He was still able to keep his head in it, to go out there and play well, and then when his name was called upon, the guy has been electric.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and part of it is it's what happens at a moment in time. Trust me, if that was Game 16 or Game 17, and the Lions needed that catch and that touchdown for a playoff berth, we'd remember it a lot longer. We really would.
Yeah.
And now, look, if the Lions miss the playoffs by a game, we'll look back at that and many others as what did them in. If they make it, we'll look back at many others and what got them in. But I liked he did one of the Zoom interviews with the Detroit media. I think it was the next Thursday or Friday before Game 2, and maybe it was after the game. I forget exactly which, but he had kind of bounced back and he said, no, he said, did it bother him? He said, look, I know what kind of player I am. I know it's not going to happen again. I think he's had another drop, but nothing. You're going to drop balls. It just happens. It's the way it is in pro football. But no, he is a really, really good football player. The thing I like about him is just is He's always seems to be, have body control. You don't see his arms flailing to keep his balance and all that. He kind of tucks the ball in. You could see that on the first possession of the game last week. They had, three runs and then the long touchdown pass to Marvin Hall. And when you said that the Lions, were scoring quickly on their possessions, well, that was exactly that was the case on that one. I mean, they just had the ball for 4 plays, bingo, touchdown. Offense sit down, defense go out on the field and try and stop it. So or try and preserve it. But he was on his game right from the beginning. He really was.
This season, there are even more ways to get into the game thanks to Lions Bingo presented by BetMGM. Lion fans can play along for free all season long for the chance to win great prizes, including the grand prize each week of a weekend stay at an MGM Resorts location. Just download the Lions mobile app and register to play Lions Bingo each and every week. Play along during the game, and once you hit bingo, you score. Courtesy of our friends at BetMGM. Learn more and lock in your Lions Bingo board before kickoff by visiting the official Lions mobile app now.
Well, let's turn the page to looking ahead to this next game that the Lions have. It's actually Riverboat Ron's former team, now Matt Rule's team in Carolina. The Panthers have really struggled with some injuries this year. Trust me, I know, because it's affected my fantasy team quite deeply. Because Christian McCaffrey has spent most of this season injured. He was able to come back for a game, but it doesn't sound like he's going to play this weekend against the Lions, which, considering the struggles that they have had against the run, is probably a little bit of a relief, although Mike Davis has done a pretty good job in McCaffrey's stead. But, there's questions with Teddy Bridgewater as well. So those guys have really struggled hard with injuries, and I think that's part of why their season hasn't quite turned out how they wanted to.
No, their team is, they've struggled, period. They lost their first, it's been 3 streaks for them, and it's what's taken them to 3-7. They lost their first 2 games, like the Lions, and they won their next 3 to get to 3-2, and everybody was talking about how, Matt Rule from Baylor turned things around, next hot young coach in pro football. Well, they've lost 5 straight, and they're 3-7, and really they're struggling, period. Teddy Bridgewater, you mentioned, he practiced in a limited fashion yesterday. They're hopeful that he'll play. I'm pretty sure he will. I don't know why. Actually, if he was able to practice, I don't know why he wouldn't play. But defensively, it's just been a really, really tough time. I looked this up. They've given up 154 points. That's the second most in the National Football Conference. Now, they've played 10 games. The team with giving up the most, Dallas, and the team in the third most, the Detroit Lions, both have played 9 games. But still, in this 5-game losing streak, they've given up 154 points. That's 30-something, 30-point-something per game. And you're not going to win the National Football League doing that. And one of the things that really kind of bothered them was the way they gave up a big plays to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the same plays that the Bucs had run against them on opening day. So, including one of them was a 98-yard touchdown run. And so, it's a struggle, and you're really at a point now with the injuries they have that they're not going to ever say this or feel this, but they are what they are right now, and they're the team that's struggling to stay out of the basement.
Well, so what you're telling me about what their defense has been given up is that this could be another DeAndre Swift game.
Well, you would think so. Look, I think that Darrell Bevel, the offensive coordinator, now in the middle of his second year here, and Matt Patricia, they want to run the ball. They want to control the game.
Absolutely.
No doubt about that. And to me, that's okay when it's working. I think sometimes, I've said this before, if you're not gaining on first down, stop running on first down. Do something else, because it's just, to me, it's just logical. But most football coaches would disagree with my logic. But I think the Lions have run it fairly effectively at times, and when they get it going, it's good. That was going well last week too.
Yeah. How about the defense? What does the defense need to do in order to stop the Carolina offense on Sunday?
Well, this is a much less. It's not a high-powered attack to begin with. Look, you go back in time, not that long either, but some of the players they had on offensively. I mean, Muhsin Muhammad, kid here from the state of Michigan, Steve Smith, just great wide receivers, great and productive. Really some high profile, high production players. Cam Newton, a little different style of kind of a power player at quarterback, but look, he led them to a 15-1 record one year. He was the MVP of the league. They got to the Super Bowl and lost a tight one, but everything just kind of dovetailed on him. One thing, look, Ron Rivera really is a good coach, but one thing that kind of surprised me, looking at his 9-year stay there, they only had 3 winning records, even though they made the playoffs 4 times, and one of those was 7-8-1 record, 7 wins, 8 losses, and a tie, and they won the division. But they didn't, when they won big, but when they didn't win big a lot, and they didn't win a lot either. They had, like I said, they had 6 seasons with a losing record out of 9 there. So that just kind of surprised me, given the profile that they have and some of the players they had. So I think, Matt Rule's got a lot of work ahead of him on both sides of the ball. Got to hope that Teddy Bridgewater stays healthy. They got a scare last week, late in the game, late in that loss to the Bucs when he went down and left the game, didn't finish the game, had some sort of injury to his right knee, but they said there was soreness and swelling, but no structural damage. And he was at least on the practice field yesterday, participating in a limited fashion.
Well, I'm just glad for Teddy Bridgewater for that
Absolutely.
fact, considering the injuries that he's gone through before. So glad that it did not have structural damage.
No, and look, he was drafted in the first round, 32nd overall by the Vikings in 2014. Made the Pro Bowl in 2015. They went to 11-5, made the playoffs. Now, made the Pro Bowl. He was boosted up as an alternate. He had 14 touchdown passes that way and double-digit interceptions. But really a leader. He was with New Orleans last year. Tori was 5-0 in relief of Drew Brees when he was out early in the season. So he's been really a strong leader. I don't think he quite fits the mold of the quarterbacks that are coming out now, Kyler Murray and guys who can run, and Lamar Jackson and that type of player. I don't think he quite fits that mold. He's more of a drop back thrower and cerebral quarterback and a good solid player. And they need him, and they need him to be healthy, and they need him to stay healthy.
Absolutely. Well, let's take it to Mike's Pick of the Week, presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Mike, you went all in on the Lions last week with the black chips. Turned out good for you because the Lions did win that game. Who you taking this Sunday?
Well, just by the way, but the betting line, they pushed on it, so I had to give the chips back in a hurry. I didn't lose any, but I didn't win any. And when I don't win, I consider it a loss. I'm stubborn that way. A lot of it depends on Matthew Stafford, with his thumb, and if he plays. I think he'll play. I don't know that. As we tape this on Thursday morning, he did not practice Wednesday afternoon. He was listed at no practice, which means just what it says, no practice. I like the Lions with a combination of reds and greens. I'm hedging my bet.
Okay.
You can hear him clicking in the background, but I like the Lions to win 27-16. I just don't. I think their defense will get it together this week.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think this is a good team to do that against, and important to get another win. You get back to 500 before this Thanksgiving Day game. That would be big.
Well, yeah, and if they can win at home on Thanksgiving, beat Houston, that's actually 1 week from today.
Right.
And then they're 6-5, and they're getting into a real tough part of the schedule. But you don't have a chance until you make a chance for yourself. And everything the Detroit Lions can accomplish is right in front of them, and it's up to them to take advantage of the opportunity they have. Do it for yourself. Yeah,
in my opinion, it's really, really important to win these last couple of November games because of the tough slate that you have in December. So I think you need to be heading into December with a winning record because you got some tough games on your schedule. I could not agree more. All right, Mike. Well, that does it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us on the One Pridecast presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Okay, great. Thanks for having me. Can't wait to do it again. Yeah, we'll talk to you next week before Thanksgiving. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you then. This season, there are even more ways to get into the game thanks to Lions Bingo presented by BetMGM. Lion fans can play along for free all season long for the chance to win great prizes, including the grand prize each week of a weekend stay at an MGM Resorts location. Just download the Lions mobile app and register to play Lions Bingo each and every week. Play along during the game, and once you hit bingo, you score. Courtesy of our friends at BetMGM. Learn more and lock in your Lions Bingo board before kickoff by visiting the official Lions mobile app now.